Welcome, everybody. You're watching the Acquisition Council, the monthly show that takes a deep dive into the best practices and technology to help your dealership evolve its street purchase strategies. Today, we'll be talking about documenting your street purchase process with Tom and Mark from the Vehicle Acquisition Network, two of the most versed and knowledgeable subject matter experts on private vehicle acquisition and auto remarketing. Today's topic will definitely be useful for our used car managers out there. So, gentlemen, let's jump right in, shall we? Guys, great to see you again.
Great to see you, David.
Thank you. So last time we spoke, we had some camping and things were going on. Have you been on any trips? I know you're a big camper and a trip. What's happened thus far since last time I saw you?
Most recently, be Manistee National Forest in Michigan. So it's a beautiful country.
Wow,
it's awesome up there.
How long were you there?
Not long, a few days.
Did you drive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not far.
It's great. You're a gladiator.
Yeah.
Fun. Camping?
Camping, backcountry camping.
Amazing.
Nothing
nearly as cool?
Nothing nearly
That's
as cool as
tough to
camping
beat.
in Manistee, right? Yeah,
That's
no.
tough to beat.
Staycation, no.
That's tough to beat. Yeah. Well, listen, we have important subjects to talk about today, and we want to get right to it. So today we are talking about documenting your private vehicle acquisition process. Okay. First question I have is, why is it important to have a documentation system?
I can share a story about a dealer we worked with for a number of years. Early on, he had struggled to attain the goals that he wanted, such that it was probably 30 to 40% of what he was actually trying to achieve. And what he would do in an effort to try to improve the results is he would change the process. And he'd go back to his team and he'd tell them what the new process was that week. Now, week after week, this process evolved and changed. Now, the team didn't know which version of the process they were on. So the point was when we said, dealer, please write down what you do so that your team has clarity to what's going on. And there wasn't clarity, and therefore there wasn't really consistency. And the team just didn't know what to do, and so they weren't all rowing in the same direction. So as it pertains to documenting your process, if you write down what you do, you can ensure that your team's on the same page, that they know what is expected of them. We have a mantra within our company to attack the process, not the person. So if you attack the process, you can look back to what's written, verify that the team's doing what is written down, and then optimize and improve what results you're not getting.
I like that. Very good. Why? Why do you think it's important to have a documentation system?
I think it's just as Tom said, it's for clarity, consistency, and communication so that everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. So you can benchmark your highest performing people against the processes that you have and make sure that you eliminate waste by making the process more efficient.
So I believe that if you're going to have a documentation system, you probably want to stay consistent with the system. Tell me why that's important. Why is it important to maintain consistency within your documentation system?
I'll jump on. So if you look at sports, really any success, it comes down to being consistent. So I am a runner, and so part of running is staying consistent and improving. Now, if I'm injured or if I'm not consistent, then my results suffer greatly. Yeah. And the results that I see, typically I'm training for an event, the more consistent that I am at that, the better outcome it always is. So this is the same thing when you're very consistent with your process among different team members and even amongst one individual, making sure that they're doing the same thing, they're going to get better over time.
Yeah, you stay consistent, improvement comes, period.
Keeping everybody on the same page. There may be more than 2 or 3 individuals involved in a process, especially one that can be as complex as purchasing a vehicle from a private party seller. So it may be the person who's responsible for cutting the check, or the person who's responsible for valuing the vehicle, and the person who may be actually communicating with the seller to make sure that street purchase comes through, so that everyone knows what they're supposed to do at what point, having a documented process eliminates all the confusion and bottlenecks we often see.
Well, why? Here's another question then. Why is documenting your process key in managing a successful business?
So if you just verbally explain what the process is, not everybody learns through Audible. So you have to be cognizant of the team that you have. Some people learn differently. So if you're talking to somebody, but there's somebody that's more visual, they may not fully understand what you're asking of them. So if you're going to change the process or expect somebody to follow, it needs to go beyond just talking about it. You need to write it down.
It's also very important when someone's promoted or leaves, then the process often winds up leaving with that individual. When you document your process, the person who's incoming to take over that same position will have a much better chance of success if they have a documented process.
Yeah.
It's like the telephone game, right? You're just talking and explaining down the line.
Yeah.
The process
Gets lost.
doesn't change.
You got to write it down. You got to write it down. Yeah, we know. You know. So if you're going to start a process, it's probably something new. You start something new, it's pretty painful. So what tips do you have for anybody out there that's going to be starting the documentation process?
I would start off by saying keep it as simple as possible. You don't have to make an elaborate presentation or use project planning software. It can be as simple, and we've had dealers who excel at private party acquisition and street purchases by just using a simple composition notebook and a pencil. So I think it's most important to keep it simple and straightforward, and then communicate to everyone that's involved in that process. It won't be helpful if just one individual has it. They have to be able to communicate it to everyone involved.
Yeah, simple is key for execution, and we like to start things in threes. So we find if you break things down in threes, it's a lot more manageable. So for us, we have 3 playbooks that we primarily stick to, and that's planning, in-store, or rather planning, communications, and in-store. So beyond that, I would say that chronologically, walking a consumer through the process from the very beginning of the engagement all the way through sending them home in an Uber or dropping them off. So I think the chronological is easiest in my thought.
And visualizing the process all the way through, as Tom said, from when you make contact with a private party seller to when they arrive at the dealership, thinking through every step that you'll need to anticipate to make sure that that private party seller has a great experience when they come to the dealership.
Start a process. Stay consistent. If you're going to be a successful business, it's key, but keep it simple.
Right.
Yeah,
Keep it simple.
that's great advice. Tom and Mark, thanks so much. Great seeing you guys as always. I learned so much. Always great time spending with you. And if there's anything that you want to know about the Vehicle Acquisition Network, listen, Tom and Mark are ready to take your calls. These gentlemen will answer your questions. Thanks for tuning in to the Vehicle Acquisition Council. Thank you from everybody at the Vehicle Acquisition Network.